So in today's session, let's talk about what does it mean by ERP. Okay, ERP. Here, what are the applications we discussed? Okay, the Oracle, SAP, PeopleSoft, JD AdWords. These are all applications we call as ERP applications. Okay, we call as ERP applications. What does it mean by ERP? ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. ERP applications, Enterprise Resource Planning applications. So what does it mean by resources? Here we have to understand this point. Enterprise means organization, company. Planning, they can plan and they can utilize the resource with the help of these applications. Here when I talk about resource, employees. Okay, employees are one resource for the organization. Same way, money. Money is the resource and material also. Okay, material also resource for the organizations. The same way, machinery. Enterprise resource planning. What does it mean by resource? Employees who are working for the organizations, and money, what they use to run their business and making the profits or spending expense, the money, the material, okay, and the machinery. If you look at the P2P and O2C cycles, here we can understand, or else we can go through these two cycles what we discussed in the last session. So here, employees. So employees ideally we can use, okay, we require in all these departments. So inventory department, we require employees, the purchase department, payables department, and receivables department. You take any department, we require employees. Already we discussed one point when you talk about employees where we can manage the employees information. Employees information you can manage by using the application called as HCM applications. HCM. By using HCM applications, we can manage the employees information. We can maintain the employees data in HR application, and we can run the payrolls. There are different applications which deals with the employee related data. So with the help of HCM applications, we can maintain the employees data. What about money? By using the cash management application, okay, by using the cash management application, we can maintain the bank accounts. And when you are making the payment, we use the money. When we are receiving the payment, the same money related transactions will perform. That means we are going to deal with the money related transactions in these applications. Even within the HCM applications also, okay, within the HCM also, when we make the salary payments, in the payrolls also we use money. And material. For material, you can take the example of inventory. Okay, within the inventory application, we can maintain the material item or say stock. The other element is machinery. So what are the machinery you are using in your organization? Those could be any fixed assets. Okay, so those we can maintain by using the fixed assets application. Okay, and if your client is going to use projects applications, Okay, in the projects also you can use the machineries and all for the work related activities. You are constructing one building. Okay, you may use some machinery and all. That information also you can maintain within the applications and you can use them very effectively with a proper planning. So that is the meaning of resource. Okay. So employees, money, material, machinery, these all you can plan how to use in our organization, and to use those effectively, we can use ERP applications. The ERP applications, you can maintain all these details, employees data by using HCM, money related transactions by using financial, material related information within the inventory, machinery or other fixed assets information, the fixed assets application, all this data you can maintain. And again, there will be communication across all these departments. When you talk about ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, in ERP applications only you can see the applications are connected. However, the departments can have a communication in the same way. The applications also connected and the data flows from one application to another application. That is possible mostly in the ERP applications. And one more point, so this all application related data can be stored in the single database. Okay. In case of ERP, you no need to maintain the separate databases. You no need to maintain the separate databases for all these applications. Okay, for all these applications, you can have a single database. So inventory data will be stored in same database. PO, AP, FS, EMGL, take any application, not only this, there are many other applications. For all the applications, you can have a single database. It is the same single database concept you can use for multiple countries. Again, say these applications you want to use for your business operations which you are doing in the India and US, UK, you take example. So for multiple countries also, you can use the same applications, and that means you can use the same instance. You can use the single instance for multiple countries. So in the same instance for each and every country, you can create the business solution, and our complete data will get stored in the same database. And again, data would be secured. Another important point is in ERP applications, it is very easy. You can connect third-party applications with this fusion applications. We are talking about fusion applications. In case of ERP, any third-party applications we can connect with these applications. You take any fusion application. If client wants to use third-party applications, the applications which are not from Oracle, if they want to use, they can connect those applications with these fusion applications. Say for example, client wants to use, okay, some PP, the projects applications from SAP. The project application, or simply you can say projects. Projects applications. These project related applications need to be connected with our finance related applications. Say this we want to connect with AP. Fine. And this project applications we want to connect with AR. Okay. And this project applications you want to connect with inventory. And the same we want to connect with PO. So if you want to connect the project applications which are from SAP, yes, that is possible. In case of ERP, easily you can establish the connectivity between the third-party applications and our Oracle related applications. So now SAP we call as third-party application. So that we call as integrations. In ERP applications, integrations is very much easy. Okay. If you are dealing with other than ERP application, there could be provision, or there may not be provision also to connect other applications with a specific product. But in case of ERP, it is possible. Okay. is very much possible. This is what we have to understand. Okay. So when you are using the ERP applications, your resource, okay, your resource and your money and your material and your machinery, you can plan and you can maintain by using the respective applications, and so that you can use them very effectively within your organization, within your enterprise. And between those applications, there will be very much connectivity, and all these applications data can get stored in the single database. These applications you can use for one country or multiple countries, still the data can be stored in the single database. If you want to connect third-party applications with any one of these applications, it is possible, because in ERP applications, that is very much possible. You can find the relevant provisions. The flexibility you can find it within the ERP applications. And the other point is, since these applications are connected as a part of ERP, in inventory, you can say you can create the requisition. The rest of process you can automate. Based on that, you can create, based on the requisition, you can create the purchase order automatically. Based on the purchase order, you can create the GRN, goods receipt note, automatically. And if you want to perform the purchase returns, automatically you can perform the purchase returns. Based on the GRN, you can create the purchase invoice automatically. And based on the purchase invoice, you can make the payment automatically. That means in payables, you don't need to enter the purchase invoice. You can create purchase invoice based on the GRN information. System will auto create. How it will auto create? The system can copy the GRN information from PO to AP, because PO and AP are connected. There is integration. And if you want to create the asset and the fixed assets based on asset related purchase invoice, you don't need to enter the details through manual process. You can copy the purchase invoice information from AP to FA, that you can convert as a fixed asset. Same way, you take any example. So here, if you want to create the sales invoice, okay, the shipment information you can send to account receivables, that you can create as a sales invoice. So this is how you can automate the process. That is possible in ERP applications. In ERP application, you can automate the business process across the applications, not only in the single application, across the application, you can automate the business process. So these are the advantages. Okay, these are the points we have to understand. So how we can manage the applications in case of ERP. If you are using the other than ERP application, if you are going to use the same product for multiple countries, for each country, you may have to maintain the separate databases. And it may not be possible to connect the applications which you are using in one country with another country related applications. So you may not find this kind of flexibility which you see in the ERP applications. Okay. So here the key points what we have to understand is, the very first point is, these resources you can plan and you can use effectively within your organization in case of ERP applications. In ERP applications, you'll have flexibility of maintaining all these resources with respect to applications as per your plan. You can use them very effectively. That is the first point. Okay. The second point is, all the applications can be connected each other. Okay, that we are calling as integration. So you can see that integrations mostly in the ERP applications only. That is second point. Okay, integrations are possible. And third point is, you can establish third-party integrations also. Not only just connecting Oracle Fusion Inventory with Oracle Fusion Purchasing, you can connect any third-party applications with Fusion applications. That is another point. Okay, we can establish third-party integrations. And the fourth point is, you can automate the business process. ERP applications, since applications are connected, integrated, you can automate the business process. The fifth point is, for all these applications, you can have a single database. Okay, for all these applications, you can have a single database. All these applications data can be stored in the single database. And the sixth point you may take as, if you are using these applications for multiple countries, the country wise, application wise, or user wise, or department wise, data can be maintained the more secured manner and segregated manner, but everything will be in the single database. If you are running the business in 100 countries, for 100 countries also you can use the same instance, single instance we can use. Okay, already we discussed about what does it mean by instance and all, the same point I am referring. So for one country you can use one instance, or else for 100 countries also you can use the same instance. For 100 countries business, you can use a single instance. The single instance you can maintain data, you can do the implementation as per each and every country requirements, and you can start recording the business transaction, you can generate the reports. The complete data will get stored in the single database. You may use that instance for 100 countries. For 100 countries, business transaction data can be stored in the single database. And again, within that single database, country-wise data would be separated and security can be maintained, and users wise, application wise, and all the aspects, okay, with enough security, data can be managed in the single instance. So these are the advantages of ERP applications. Okay, ERP applications. There will be a lot of flexibility when it comes to integrations, and even if you want to do the modification to these applications, that is possible. Already we discussed in which case we can modify, in which subscriptions we cannot modify, we discussed. If you are going to use PaaS, platform as a service, yes, you can do the customizations. The existing functionalities you can modify, you can create new functionalities, or you can say new pages you can create, or else altogether you can create the new application also. This is what we have to understand when we talk about PaaS. In case of SaaS also, you can do the integrations. It could be SaaS or PaaS, you can do the integrations. But when you talk about customizations, creating new pages, that is possible in PaaS. So this is what we have to understand, the meaning of ERP. Any questions from anyone, please? Any questions from anyone, please?
The third party application.
Yeah. Please.
Third party application means
Other than Oracle applications. Any application.
As you said, it will integrated by Oracle.
No, we have to do it. Our technical team should do it. Oracle never do that. Oracle
Not
will provide the Oracle
not functional consultant.
Not functional consultant, technical consultants.
Technical consultant. Okay.
Yeah. What functional consultant has to do is, if you are a finance functional consultant, you have to understand about the finance applications. Say accounts payables, what are the features are available, how to use those features. If you want to use those features, how to set up the accounts payables, what are the reports are available. This is what you have to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, if anything they required apart from Oracle is providing, that can be developed by technical consultant. Okay. If any integrations, technical consultant has to do. Any new page developments, technical consultant has to do.
Okay.
That's how it works. Any other questions?
Lakshman, if there is any discrepancy in means while integration is proceed, then there is a discrepancy, then they are reporting to us or directly technical team, means in future when we are there for as a consultant.
Okay. When we do the implementation, okay, implementation is one-time activity. Okay, as a functional consultants, we do the implementation for a client. Say we have ABC organization. So they want to use Oracle Fusion Financials. We take their requirement as a part of accounts payable department, what exactly they are doing. To support all those activities, we set up accounts payables. So then they'll start using. When we are doing the implementation, if any issues, we can talk to Oracle. Oracle can help us. Okay. If any application related issues, we can take the support from Oracle. Once implementation is done, when client will start using these applications, say they are creating the purchase invoice, they are processing the payments by using accounts payables. If they are facing any issues, they'll come back to us. We are consultants. We know everything in and out of accounts payable application, how to set up, what functionality works in by depending on what options. We know each and everything about the application we implemented. So when client is going to use that application, if they face some issues, they come back to us and we can fix those. If you are not able to fix those issues, even we can take help from Oracle. We can take support from Oracle. That's how finally we can support to the client. This is how it works. Okay. Implementation time, if any issues with the application, Oracle will help us. When client is going to use these applications, if any issues, they come back to us and we will help them by fixing those issues. If you are not able to fix that issues because of some issues with the application functionality or some coding or abnormal behavior of applications or functionalities, we can take help from Oracle. Okay, we can take the support from Oracle and we can help to the client.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
Yeah, I have a question. So for SaaS subscription, can we add custom fields and also automate processes?
Oh, sorry. Can you please repeat first time?
Yeah, for SaaS subscription, are we allowed to add custom fields or you call this DFF and also automate processes?
See, automatic processes are inbuilt. We no need to do that. Okay. Those are inbuilt. See, now here we discussed about P2P and O2C cycle. These cycles completely can be automated. Okay. You can create the sales order, rest of process, everything you can automate. System will create. Just you have to run some processes. You have to submit something, then system will take care of the next step. So those you know.
So are we allowed to?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, are we allowed to add custom fields, like there is a new field you want to add to a page? Are we allowed to do this using SaaS subscription?
Yes. Yeah, you can do that. So but if you take the SaaS subscription, those we call as personalizations. Whatever you are referring, we call as personalizations. So you are creating invoice. Okay, you are creating invoice. You want to hide one field. And you are creating invoice. You want to make 2 fields as a compulsory when you create so-and-so transaction. Yes, that you can do. Adding all together new field, that is possible with the concept called as DFF, descriptive flex field concept. These all are possible in the SaaS or PaaS because those doesn't comes under customizations. Okay, just you are personalizing. Okay, one field is there. As per your business, the field always data should be entered in that field that you can convert into mandatory field. You can convert into optional to mandatory. Or else you can hide so-and-so field, or you can hide so-and-so tab, or you can hide so-and-so details in the so-and-so page. Yes, that is possible. That you can do in the SaaS also. Yeah.
I just want to confirm. So we are allowed to add new fields into an existing page, right? Which is called the DFF field, right?
Yes, DFF, descriptive flex fields. In every page, Oracle is giving that provision. In any page, if you want to add some additional fields by using the DFF concept, descriptive flex field concept, you can add those fields. Through those fields, whatever the data you want to capture as a part of the record, you can do that. Yeah, possible. Any other questions? Okay. Fine. So that is all about ERP. Okay, ERP means enterprise resource planning. So by using these enterprise ERP applications, you can plan and you can use your resource very effectively. And when we talk about ERP application, so for all these applications, we'll have a single database. and those applications are connected. Those are integrated by default. If those are all applications from Oracle only, all the applications are integrated, connected as per the need. See, the PO and OM are not connected, for example. Okay, the PO and OM are not connected because there is no need of connecting. So wherever there is some need of connecting one application with another application, that Oracle is doing, that we call as inbuilt integration. Apart from that, if you want to connect one application with another application, that could be another Oracle application or third-party application, that can be done by a technical team. Okay, the technical team can, or technical consultants can create the integrations. They can integrate one application with another application. And we discussed a single database for all the applications. These applications you may use for one country or multiple countries, but database would be same, right? And you can automate the business process, and data can be managed with more security, by just all those security aspects. Just we can maintain the data, and you can segregate. Before that, we segregate the data, and we can maintain more secure manner. So this is all about ERP, what we have to understand. The same we'll see once we get into the application and we are in the relevant process. So any questions on this point, please?
Lakshman, my name is Shri.
Yeah,
Remember, between the SaaS and PaaS, it said customizations are not possible. Can you give one example? Based on what you explained earlier, it looks like a lot of customization is possible with the tool DFF and adding new fields into forms, things like that. But can you give one example of what is not possible between these two?
yeah. So in accounts payables, I need one more page apart from what Oracle is providing. Okay.
Mhm.
One more page I need in accounts payables. That is not possible in the PaaS. Sorry, that is not possible in the SaaS.
Okay.
Any page you can create in case of PaaS.
Okay.
Yeah, simple.
So basically,
Say Oracle is providing 20 pages. Each page may refer one feature. For example, let's take this. Okay, 20 pages are available for accounts payables. Each page may be for certain functionality, certain feature. Client require one more page, one more additional page. They want to capture something else. Okay, they want to capture some LC. Okay, letter of credit, something else, some details they want to capture. That page is not available. If you are a PaaS customer, with the help of your technical team, you can ask them to develop that page and to add that page in the accounts payable application. If you are a SaaS customer, you don't have an option.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Right, yeah. Any other
Lakshman,
questions here, please?
yeah, there is any MDM department means with the master data management like that. So
Correct.
it's when there is.
Yes. Inventory department means master items.
Okay, fine. Okay. Inventory, it is including in inventory, right?
Warehouse, yes.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Warehouse. Okay. So this is the meaning of ERP. Now we'll proceed with a few other points.
Lakshman, quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, what does the typical team look like for an Oracle ERP financials implementation?
So yeah, that definitely we have to understand. I'll cover, but not at this stage.
Okay.
Okay. Not this at this stage. I'll explain later detail level. For now, I'll give very high level.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Functional consultants. Okay. Technical consultants. Project manager. In case of cloud. Other than cloud, there will be DBA and other people also as a part of team. In cloud implementations, the primary resource are functional consultants. Technical consultants, we don't need dedicated technical consultants. Most of the clients are using SaaS only. Okay, most of the clients are using SaaS only. In case of cloud, mostly you see technical consultants will be working for multiple projects. Say you have one technical consultant. we don't need any dedicated technical consultant in our team. If any technical work, say the 10 reports need to be developed in the payables, yes, we take the technical consultant support, they develop. After that, we don't need any support from them. If you are implementing PaaS subscription for your client, maybe some integrations we have to do or some new pages need to be developed. For that, we need technical team support. Okay. The full time, the entire implementation, right from beginning to ending and the later support time also, we need functional consultants in the team. We falls under functional consultant. We have to work as a functional consultant for finance. The same way you can have a functional consultant for SCM, HCM, PPM. What are the applications client is going to implement? Accordingly, we can have a functional consultants, and definitely there should be a project manager will be monitoring and controlling the project related activities. So this is a typical team for cloud implementations. We don't need dedicated technical consultant. Before cloud, we have EBS. So in EBS, technical consultants are mandatory. Now, lot of technical works, they converted into functional infusion. So without technical team support, we'll be able to implement the cloud applications. We can implement cloud applications, fusion applications. So the major role is functional consultants. Functional consultants will play major role in every implementation.
Okay.
Done. So that's all about ERP. Now we'll look into other points. So in the last session, we created a user. Last or prior session, we created a user and we assigned the two roles, right? These roles we assigned to that user. Okay. These roles we assigned to user. Now quickly we'll go and create user once again and we'll verify because of this application implementation consultant role that user is able to access to this setup or configuration and implementation environment or not. The same way, because of IT security manager, the user is able to create another users and role assignment. This will go on to verify. Okay, so let's create one more user. Okay, we know how to create the user, right? Click on the navigator. Under tools, go to security console. Go to users. Click on add user account. One second. Close this, collapse. Click on add user account. Here you can provide the user related details. The first name, it is a completely optional. There is no star mark. Last name is mandatory field. So whatever mandatory you can provide. So what is the name you want to use? So let's use the name called as Amex. Okay, American Express. So we are going to do the implementation for American Express company. The short name for American Express is Amex. So let's create user by using the name as Amex. And here email ID is mandatory. Okay, any mail ID you can enter. You can just for testing purpose, you can enter dummy email ID. Use tab. Notice the same email ID is copying as a username. If you want to keep this mail ID as a username, you can accept the same, or else you can take the person name as a username, copy and paste. And assign the roles to this user. Later you can set the password. If you set password now, by the time you assign the roles, it will refresh and it will update, it will change. So better what you can do is after giving last name, email ID and username, you can assign the roles. What roles we have to assign? The two roles, application implementation consultant and IT security manager. Search for Okay, application fine. So here we discussed a few points. When you type application implementation, you can find application implementation administrator, consultant, manager. What you have to select? Only consultant. Consultant role will have a full privileges compared to manager and administrator. Select application implementation consultant role only. You will have all the privileges within this role only. Okay. Application implementation consultant. So click on add role membership to assign this role to user. And we have to assign one more role, that is IT security manager. IT security manager, select, click on add role membership to assign this role to user. Click on done. We created user and we assign these two roles. Now you can set the password. Okay, the password policy is at least 8 characters with one number in the password. Set password and confirm the same. Say save and close. User is created and roles are assigned. So if you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user should be able to do the setups, or the user should be able to do the configuration. In other words, you can say implementation. We'll go and verify. Okay, our current user. Okay, our current user is Amex. Amex is able to have access to the page from where we can do the setups or not. We will go and check. Okay, we'll go and verify. Now just sign out from the current user. Say confirm. Log in as a Amex user. Provide password. Sign in. Done. Okay. Because this application implementation consultant role, the user should be able to do the setups or configuration. To do these setups or configuration, user should get access to FSM page. User should get access to FSM page, FSM. Okay, FSM page. What does it mean by FSM? FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. The application implementation consultant role will allow this user to have access to FSM. Within the FSM only you can do the setup with the help of FSM. In Fusion applications, if you want to do any setups or if you want to do the configuration, we need access to FSM. How to get access to FSM? With the help of application implementation consultant role. Now we assign this role to this user. That means this user should get access to FSM so that we can do the setup. Now we'll go and verify our user got access to FSM or not. Okay. So to check the user access to FSM, click on the username. Just click on the username. And in this panel, you can see setup and maintenance task. You can see this setup and maintenance task when we assign application implementation consultant role to that user. If you don't assign application implementation consultant role to this Amex user, you don't see setup and maintenance task in this panel. If you click on setup and maintenance task, this will take us to FSM page. Functional Setup Manager page, from where we can do any application related setups. Okay, doing setups nothing but doing implementation. Just click on setup and maintenance task. There is a hyperlink, just click on it. So this is the page from where we can do the implementation. Okay. So you want to implement financials. You have to select financials here. Select financials. So you want to implement tables application. Here you have to select tables. Here we have tables. Click on tables. And here select all tasks. So these are the setups we have to complete to work on the tables. We'll see what are the mandatory setups or basic setups and what setups we have to do based on the specific application functionality we'll discuss, but just for information. Okay. So these are the setups we have to do to implement payables. Same way, if you want to implement fixed assets, here we have fixed assets. Select fixed assets. Okay. Select fixed assets and select all tasks. These are the setups we have to complete for fixed assets so that we can work on the fixed assets application to create the fixed assets and calculating depreciation. The same way here we have a general ledger application. Select general ledger. Okay. So all tasks. Yeah. This is what we have to understand. So we got access to FSM page. Okay, this is FSM. The same way you can access to other areas also. So you want to implement procurement like SCM. We have procurement applications. This is another product family. Already we discussed different product families we have. Financials, SCM, procurement, HCM. Okay, different product families we have. So if you want to implement a procurement product family, you can select. So within that, which application, as a part of procurement, we have a different applications. Which application you want to implement, that you can select. Say purchasing. Select purchasing. These are the purchasing related setups. Okay. So we have a different product families. What exactly you are going to implement accordingly, you can select and you can do the setups from this page. The reality from where we do the setups and what are the other points we have to understand, we'll discuss very soon. But now the simple point is the user got access to FSM through application implementation consultant. That's what we are trying to understand. The reality from where we do the setups from this page only, or else we do from the different page that we'll discuss very soon. Now we can notice this user got access to this FSM page because of application implementation consultant role. That's what we are checking. Done. And we assign IT security manager role also to the same user. Because of that IT security manager role, this user should be able to create the users and the user should be able to assign the roles to those users. You tell me from where we created user. From where we created user. We created user, right? From where we created. Just now also we created user. From where we created.
Security console.
Sorry?
Security console.
Yes. Security console. The same. So if you assign IT security manager role to the user, that user will get access to security console. Okay. So the user will get access to security console. From security console only, we can create the users and we can assign the roles to those users. Now we will verify our Amex user got access to security console or not. Okay. We assign IT security manager role to Amex user. That means Amex user should get access to security console. We'll go and check. Okay. So user is Amex. Go to navigator, click on navigator. Under tools, yes, we are able to see security console. If you don't see security console in under tools, that means IT security manager role is not assigned to that user. It's very simple. Okay. If IT security manager role is not assigned to the user, you cannot access to security console task. Here, whatever you see within the navigator, whatever you see, we call as a task. Okay, task. You cannot see security console task under tools. You can click on security console. Yes, we are able to access to this page. Just collapse it and go to users. Click on add user account. Yes. We are able to create the user. Okay, done. So we are able to create the user from Amex user. That means Amex user got full privileges for user creation. If you want to assign the roles, yes, that also you can perform from this security console. So this is all about the role related privileges. Okay, if you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user will get access to FSM. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. Any application, if you want to do the setup, so this is a place. If you want to implement payables, you have to implement from Functional Setup Manager only. You want to implement receivables, you have to do from there on. You want to implement fixed assets, yes, that is a page. You can say implementation or setup or configuration. Same way, if you want to create the users, you require access to IT Security Manager. That will allow us to have access to Security Console page so that you can create the users and you can assign the roles. Okay, so this is what we have to understand, the user creation and do role related accesses. Any questions on this, please?
Hey, Lakshman, these two roles are delivered by Oracle, right?
Yes, these two roles are delivered by Oracle. What are the roles Oracle is providing? Those roles we call as seeded roles. Okay, these roles are delivered by Oracle. When we get access to fresh instance, in the fresh instance, you can see these roles. That means these roles are provided by Oracle. What are the roles Oracle is providing? Those we call as a seeded roles. Not only role, if anything Oracle is providing, that we call as seeded, which comes along with the product. These two we call as a seeded roles. As per our requirement, we can create new roles. Okay, we can create the new roles. If you create anything as new, that we call as a customization. If you create the new roles, that we call as custom roles. Okay, ideally we create the custom roles for the applications. These roles for implementation purpose. Okay, say one user required access to only invoice creation. To allow that user to have access to invoice creation page, we can create the custom role. Another user required access to only payment creation page. The other user required access to invoice and payment. So this is how, as per business requirement, we can create new roles. The new roles what we create, those we call as a custom roles. Okay, we'll have one session on that. I included in our course curriculum how to create the custom roles. So that we'll see when we are dealing with the topic. Okay. So Oracle provider roles we are calling as a seeded roles. Any questions here, please?
Yeah, one other question, Lakshman. So is it a good practice to assign seeded roles to the users, or you just copy that seeded role and then customize it the way you want and then assign it to the user? I mean, from a best practice perspective, is it advisable to use the seeded one? Because what I'm hearing from you is this seeded role, especially the application implementation consultant, right? It's like pretty much they have everything, access to all the areas. But let's say if a customer is only implementing financials, and now I think if I give this, it's also giving access to the areas where that particular person is not supposed to have or should not have.
So these seeded roles, see, seeded roles we have for other applications also. For tables, we have seeded roles, receivables, we have seeded roles, whatever it may be, like seeded roles Oracle is providing. So as per our requirement, that if you think like the seeded role is good enough, as per our requirement, yes, you can use it. There is no issue with that.
Mhm.
If you think the seeded role has more privileges than what you need, in that case, you can customize it.
Okay.
Yeah. So ideally, we use seeded roles. Okay, seeded roles as a consultant. These are the two seeded roles which we require. Directly, you can use. So when it comes to consultant need access to everything. Okay, consultant need access to everything. You may be finance functional consultant, but even if you are going to have access to SCM and HCM, nothing will goes wrong. You are not a business user. Okay, you can have a control. You can have access.
And one other question on these seeded roles, will there be any impact with this quarterly releases that we get?
No. See,
No.
if they are going to add some functionalities, features, those will be included within that automatic.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? No questions.
Lakshman sir, one quick question. So it's a different on version wise. So 11.13. So you said release 13. So what is 11 stands for?
11 stands for version. See, before Fusion, we have 11A version. Okay, 11A version.
Okay.
After that, we have R12. Okay, in this 11A, we have the detailed version 11.5.0, later 11.5.10, then and later 11.5.10.2. So this is all the versions we have in the 11A. This is series. Okay, this is version series 11A. 11 I stands for internet. It's very, very older version. That 11.5.0, 11.5.10, 11.5.10.2. Okay, this is all we have. In the 11i, this is the last version which they just stopped. Later, to this, they did some changes. Okay, they did good amount of changes, and the same product they released as a R12.
Okay.
So in R12 also, this is how they have a different versions. Okay, 12 point, okay, 2.5.0, different versions they have. And in the same way, however, they started versioning with 11 and 12 here. For Fusion, they just used version called as 11. Fusion applications version is 11G. We have a database version also has 11G, but for Fusion applications version also 11G. So they are not changing anything here. Here, what they are calling 11A, what version you are using for your client means you may say 11.5.10.2. Instead of saying this, here they made it very simple. Instead of talking about version is fixed. Because of this version, because of the changes here, instead of saying 11.13.22.0.01, instead of saying that, simply they simplified the changes, whatever they do, those will reflect here. Any changes they do, they change with this number. That is the reason now they are saying release. Within the same 11 version, they are releasing some new patches, new changes, new updates. That is the reason this we are calling as R13 as release. Before that, we have 11.12. Prior to that, 11.11, 11.10, 11.987. Mostly clients started using from 11.7. That means from release 7, clients started using the Fusion application.
Understood.
Yeah. So we never use this version in Fusion. Always we use release.
And anytime, say for example, this time client installed release 13 and they release 14, 15 in future, it will be upgraded, will be automatic, right? Because of the cloud. They
Yes,
don't have to.
yes. That point we discussed here. In case of SaaS, auto upgrade.
Got it.
Okay, if you are a SaaS customer, you can just write an email to Oracle Global Support. You can write an email that you can write as SR, service request. You can inform them, we want to upgrade to latest release. Okay, so they can do it for us in one day. If you inform them today, by tomorrow your environment can be upgraded to latest release, because you are not doing any customizations, only reports. Report just, it's all about how to view the data. You are not touching the product functionality. You are not disturbing. So your environment can be upgraded automatically very easily. But if you are a past customer, say now you are using release 13, maybe after 1 or 2 years, Oracle may come up with the release 14. If you want to upgrade to latest version, since you did the customizations, Oracle cannot look into all those customizations. They cannot take the precautions before converting into latest release. So that you have to do it. Your team should take care of manually. You have to go with those upgrade activities. Okay. So in one go, Oracle cannot upgrade your environment since you have a customizations. The customizations, whatever you did, those are invited by that latest release, or you have to do some changes, or some connectivities may miss in this latest release. You have to take care of all those, and that has to be done through manual process. Oracle is not going to help you to upgrade automatically, and Oracle will help you to upgrade, but you have to take many precautions, and they will apply the patch so that your environment will be upgraded to latest. And again, you have to check each and everything. So auto upgrade is not possible in case of PaaS since you are doing the customizations. This is what we have to understand.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lakshman, where can we see the version on the application?
Okay. We have seen in the, I think in the second session, I just taken through that. Again, no issues. If you want to see, you have to click on username.
Mm-hmm.
Click on the task called as about this application.
Okay.
Okay. Here.
And how frequently does the version change?
Version, they never change. Version means year 11.
Uh-huh.
The release, okay, release 13.
Mm-hmm.
So Oracle upgraded this product to release 13 around 3 years back. Prior to that, every year, every 6 months once, almost 6 months to 1 year, they were keep upgrading to latest releases.
Okay.
Okay. Say 2019, they upgraded to release 13.
Okay.
2019 beginning only they upgraded from 12 to 13. That's how we have. Prior to that, there was very frequent upgrades from 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13. After arriving 13, what they did is, instead of changing the releases very frequently, they are keeping the release as it is. They started applying the patches. They are representing those patches here. 22
okay.
means 2022. In 2022, in January, they applied some patch.
Got it.
Here 22A means A stands for first quarter.
Okay.
B stands for second quarter. When you see B here in the second quarter, maybe April or May, June month, they'll include this.
Okay.
So yeah, this is how you can check the version. Sorry, release, not version, release. Done. Now let's talk about FSM more detailed level, and we can start working on the system. So how to proceed with that? Okay, fine. If you want to do the implementation, you can do the implementation from FSM only. Okay, functional setup manager. Let's try to understand more details about FSM. Okay, FSM stands for functional setup manager. When we deal with FSM, we have to understand certain terminology. We discussed we have a different product families. Those are like financials, right? SCM, supply chain management, and procurement. HCM, human capital management. PPM, project portfolio management. CRM, customer relationship management. So this is how we have a different product families. Okay, different product families. What is the use of financials product family? We can manage the finance related data. Already we discussed what applications comes under financials. When I talk about SCM, supply chain management, it's all about supply chain. Like when you are selling to the customer, we supply the material, we ship the material. Before that, we purchase from the suppliers and we sell to the customer. That process can be managed in the SCM. Procurement means it's more into purchasing process. That means advanced purchasing process. If you are doing just very advanced purchasing process, that we call as a procurement. Again, different departments will be part of this procurement applications, like purchasing application, sourcing application, procurement contracts. Okay, the different applications will be part of this procurement product family. HCM, human capital management. By using this HCM applications, you can manage the employee related data, maybe the employee records and their payrolls, their absence, talent, different the functional areas of employee information you can manage by using HCM application. PPM, project portfolio management. Okay, so if your organization is dealing with the projects, so your client is providing some service to their customers, they want to capture what is the agreement amount, what activities they have to do, or else say your client is doing some building constructions. Each building construction they can take as one project and they can prepare the project plan. Okay, how many floors, each floor, what activity. It's all like how much expense they are spending, how much revenue they are able to generate and billing to their customers. If you want to manage the project related activities, for that they can use applications called as PPM, project portfolio management. Within the PPM, the primary applications are costing and billing. Project costing and project billing, how much they are incurring the cost to do that project, and the billing to generate the revenue. They can do the billing to the customer so that they can get the payment from customer. In the same way, CRM, customer relationship management. Okay, so these are the different product families we have as a part of Fusion applications. As per FSM, these product families we call as offerings. Okay, we call as offerings. These product families we call as offerings. Remember this term. Financials we call as offering. And SCM we call as offering. And each product family we call as offering as per FSM. Within the FSM, this is all we call as offerings. If you call financials as offering, what about the applications? Within the financials, what applications we have? Already we discussed. Say we have GL, we have AP, AR, CM, FA. Right? Hope you are comfortable with these short names. Already we discussed. GL stands for General Ledger. That is nothing but Oracle Fusion General Ledger application. AP, accounts payables. Oracle Fusion accounts payables. AR, accounts receivable. CM, cash management. FA, fixed assets. So financials we are calling as offering. Within the financials we have a different applications. If you don't want to call as application, call as a modules. Okay, so you can call as applications or you can call as a module. We discussed application means the pages, database and reports. Instead of application, you can call as module. Module is a technical term. Okay, the functional term is application. So you can call as application or modules. So these are the applications we have as a part of financials. So these applications as per FSM we call as options. Okay, this we call as options. Product families we are calling as offering. Within the product family, what are the applications we have, those we are calling as options. Just remember this terminology. What does it mean by offering and options? When we deal with FSM, this is the terminology we use. Offering means product family, option means specific application. Okay. Now let's talk about FSM. If you get access to fresh instance, the very first step what we have to do is you can create your own user. Then what is the next step? Okay, then what is the next step? The next step is what are the offerings and options you are going to implement for your client? Those you have to enable. Okay, so you are going to implement financials and SCM to your client. You are going to implement financials and SCM to your client. That means you have to enable financials and SCM within the FSM. Within the FSM, you have to enable these financials and SCM. If you don't enable, you cannot implement those. You should enable. You have to enable. So when you enable financials, again within the financials offering, which options you are going to implement, those you have to select. Say for your client, you are going to implement only GL, AP and ER. So what we have to do, we have to enable the offering called as financials, and within the financials offering, we have to enable options called GL, APR. The same way from SCM side, SCM offering we have to enable as a part of SCM applications, what are the applications we have, which applications the client is going to implement, accordingly you have to enable the options. Okay, the very first step is we have to enable offerings and options. This is the first step. After creating your own user, you have to enable the offerings and options. After enabling the offerings and options, we have to create implementation project. We have to create implementation project. Create implementation project. What purpose we have to create implementation project in the FSM? To do the setups. Okay, remember here implementation project refers setups only. Don't think the real implementation. The real implementation is totally different. Okay, we meet the client and we take the requirement and we sit and discuss with the client and we'll set up the system, we'll show to the system, we'll prepare the documents. There are a lot of activities which we have to perform. Here, whatever we are discussing as a implementation project, just to perform the setups. Okay, what are the setups we are going to do to implement any applications? For those setups purpose, we have to create implementation project. Okay, instead of calling it as implementation project, you can call it as setup project. But the name they given as implementation project, let's call as implementation project. But understand the purpose of implementation project within the FSM. Within the FSM, what are the implementation project we are going to create? What purpose we are going to create? To do the setups. Okay, to do the setups. Without implementation project also you can do the setup, but there is some difference that we'll understand very soon. Okay, we have to create implementation project. At the time of implementation project creation, we have to select offerings and options. Exactly which applications we are going to implement, those we have to select into this implementation project. First, we have to create implementation project. During the implementation project, you can select, or else after creating implementation project also, you can select offerings and options. Say, include offerings and options. Okay, within the implementation project, you have to include offerings and options. That means we have to add offerings and options to implementation project. Once implementation project is created, system creates task list. System creates task list. Your task list is nothing but list of tasks. Each setup, what we do, we call as one task. Say, you enable all these offerings and all the options which are available within this respective offerings. And you are creating implementation project. And you selected financials. You included financials. Within the financials, say you included specific options. Say you selected all options. That means you are going to implement all these applications. For all those applications, system has to create the task list. That means to implement GL application, what are the setups we have to do? It will create the task list. And to implement accounts payable, AP application, what setups we have to perform, those all system will generate. It will generate the task list. The list of tasks we are calling as a task list, or you can say the list of setups only we are calling as a task list. Okay, the list of setups only we are calling as task list. So that's how system will create the task list. Then you can start working on the setups. Okay, before that we have to do some other activity also, we'll discuss, but as a simple point you can say you can do the setup. You can do the setup, or you can start working on the configuration, you can say. And in between we can do some other relevant activities also. Those we'll discuss. Those you don't need to take as a part of sequence of activities. Okay, setups are configuration. Okay, this is what we have to understand. So after creating our own user, we have to enable offerings and options. Then you can create implementation project so that you can include offerings and options into implementation project. Whenever you include offerings and options, the relevant task list it will generate with the help of the task list. That means with the help of tasks, or you can say with the help of setups. Okay, so the features you can do the setups, or you can say configuration. Why we have to enable offerings and options? If you don't enable financials offering, when you create implementation project, if you want to include financials into implementation project, you cannot find. Only you can include into implementation project which are already enabled. Which offerings and options are enabled, those only you can select into implementation project. You want to implement financials and you are creating implementation project. Now, if you want to implement financials, you have to do the finance related setups. If you don't enable this, if you want to select into your implementation project, you cannot include financials offering into your project. For that, first we have to enable. What are the offerings and options are already enabled? Those would be available to select into implementation project, so that offering and option related setups you can do in the system environment. So these are the points we have to understand. Now we'll go and see how to create the implementation project. And before that, so where we can see all the available offerings and options within the instance, how to enable. We'll go through all those points. Okay. So before we proceed, any questions based on these points, please?
Hey, Lakshman, quick question. So
Please.
first time when the instance is provisioned by Oracle, do
Fresh
we get
instance.
and yeah,
And
fresh
get access
instance.
to fresh instance.
Yeah, do we get like a default admin credentials from Oracle? That's
No,
what we use first time to log in.
We get one user. There is no default users here, same as EBS previous version. So you don't get any, you don't have any default user in the fresh instance. Oracle will create one user that they'll share with your client or consulting team or implementation team. With that, you can log in. That login, that user will have a privileges to these roles.
Got it.
Okay, that means you will have a full privileges. Whatever the user you are getting from Oracle, with that user also you can go ahead and you can do the implementation. But ideally what we do is we'll create separate users. One user for finance consultant, another user for SCM consultant, one more user maybe for HCM consultant. This is how we create the separate users and we'll start working on the instance. The same user also you can proceed, whatever you get from Oracle.
Okay. And I think one other question I have is, let's say if the customer or if the client has only signed up with Oracle for financials.
Okay.
That's the only thing that they bought from Oracle. So when you assign the application, go up a little bit on the role above, does they see all the modules, or they only see?
Yeah. Say you subscribed only for finance and SCM.
Right.
So when we go to FSM, you will have a provision of implementing all the applications.
Oh, even
Okay.
though we subscribed only for finance and
Yes.
SCM, we're still able to see everything.
Yeah, you can do the setups, but they don't allow you to record the transactions.
Okay.
Okay, even if you do the setups, they can track it because these instances are managed by Oracle only, right? You are taking the subscription from Oracle. These instances are from Oracle servers. So they can do audit. If they find out something which you are not supposed to do, there will be big penalties.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, this is how it works. They'll allow you, okay, even if you don't have subscription for specific areas, could be offering an option, they will allow, but we are not supposed to touch those. Say you are going to work on financials. When we are working on the financials, somewhere something will have a dependency on SCM. You took subscription for financials only, but to work on the financials, you may have to do few setups in SCM also. Those are allowed.
Okay.
But you are not supposed to use SCM applications to record your business transactions. Okay. So finance will have some dependency on SCM. For that reason, yes, the dependency related setups you can do.
Got it.
You are going to work on financials. Financials will have a dependency on HCM for employees' data. Yes, that also you can do.
Okay.
But you are not supposed to run the payrolls for employees in HCM if you don't have subscription.
Got it. Okay.
So,
And hey, one other question, maybe not now. I'm assuming at some point you'll be showing it, but like, is there a place where we can see the total number of users that are provisioned in the system and who are active? If it is something that you're going to cover in the future, that's fine. That's something just came to my mind. But
yeah, you can see like which user is provisioned to what, or which role is provisioned to how many users. This and all you can check in the system.
Okay.
Directly from the relevant pages you can see.
Okay.
That in our sessions definitely will come across with those.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. Any other questions here, please?
One more question, Lakshmi. The instances that we are going to get for practice, are we sharing that one instance between all of us, or each of us are getting a separate instance?
No, each no. So for one batch, I provide one instance.
Okay, so basically all the batch is sharing the same instance.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Lakshman, one question.
Please.
Earlier you said once you take the offering, you also configure the options, correct?
Correct. In offering, we'll have options. Options only we configure.
Correct. So, and you also said that you can only configure selected number of options, right? So, for example, if you take the financial module offering and you don't select CM or FA for that matter, will the rest of the modules will function properly without any impact in the system?
Yeah. See, you are not implementing. See, you are going to use these three applications. Okay. In these three applications, what exactly you can do it. Okay. Those are independent. But if you want to work on the fixed assets application, say you don't have accounts payable. The data what flows from accounts payable, it won't come to FA, but within the FA, what you can do it.
Okay.
If you are not using other application, whatever the data communication you can establish, that you cannot do. Rest, what is possible as a standalone application, that you will be able to use it.
Okay. But once you buy the financial offering, all these modules should be coming by default, right? Or you need to pay individually for each one of these modules.
See, these applications we have as a key applications within the finance. But when it comes to client, they may not need all these. So we have a flexibility of choosing which applications we require for our client. That flexibility we have. By default, it won't come. If you enable financial offering, by default, it is all won't come. Within the financials, which options you are going to implement, those only you can enable. Those only you can select into your implementation project. Only for those applications only you can do the setup. Or else you can do one thing. You are going to implement only these three, no issues. Within the financials offering, you can include all these five. But when you are doing the setups, when you are implementing, implement only these three only. Okay. What are the setups we have to do for a CM and FA? Ignore them.
Yeah.
That we can do. And any other questions? No questions. Now we'll go and see how to enable the offerings and options in case of fresh instance. Okay, in case of fresh instance, how to enable the offerings and options, we'll go and see. Okay, just click on this logo. This is a logo. Even we can upload any logo. So if you want to enable offerings and options, you have to navigate to FSM. Okay, you have to go to FSM. From FSM, you can enable the offerings and options. So click on the username, or else next to user, there is a drop down option. You can click on that. Okay, I'm clicking on user. It will open the panel. And to navigate to FSM, we have to use the task called as setup and maintenance. Click on this setup and maintenance hyperlink. We are in FSM. We want to enable the offerings and options. And one more point you notice here, this is not a fresh instance. This we are using for our training purpose. So that means already offerings and options are enabled in this instance. Okay, I'll just for our understanding purpose, we'll disable and we'll go through how to enable. Here you have actions drop down. Click on this. Okay, and select go to offerings. Select go to offerings. Here you can see all the offerings which are available in this instance. Okay, there are many offerings here. And you can select what are the offering we require. I'm selecting financials. Just click on financials offering. Click on that icon. Don't click on the name. Name got hyperlink. Okay, so click on this icon only. So when you click on this icon, that offering related information will be displayed here. Okay, the offering related information will be displayed here. Fine. We'll take the navigation once again. What we have to do, first we have to click on the username. Then click on setup and maintenance. Please make a note of each and every point. The navigations, what we are taking and what we are doing in the system. Please make a note so that would be useful for you for quick reference when you practice and to read and remember. That's very much important. Okay, so just click on username. In this panel, click on setup and maintenance task. It will navigate us to FSM page. Within the FSM page, go to actions and select go to offerings. Just click on go to offerings. It will take us to offerings page. Here we have a different offerings which are available in this instance, and select whatever the offering we want to implement. I'm selecting financials. So finance related information you can see. As a part of financials, okay, as a part of financials, what are the different applications we have and what are the relevant functionalities are available. they are describing here. See, within the financials, it includes assets. Assets nothing but fixed assets application, and ledgers means general ledger application, and cash cycle nothing but cash management, invoices and payments, payables application. Invoices and payments means payables application, accounts receivables. Directly they given the application name. So apart from that, other applications like we have a collections that we call as advanced collections, and subledger accounting. This is not application. This is one of the future to create accounting entries. We'll work on it. This also. We'll have a separate session on this. I included in the course curriculum. And tax configuration. So you are creating invoice in the payables, or you are creating transaction in the receivables. How tax can be calculated on those. To set up that, we have a feature called as tax configuration. Yes, we'll work on these also. So just they are describing what we have as a part of financials offering. We have a fixed assets application, we have a general ledger application, we have a cash management application, we have accounts payable application, okay, and we have accounts receivable application, we have advanced collections. These two are not application. This is the future. Yes, tax configuration, yes, you can treat as application that we call as fusion tax application. We'll work on this. Not only this, we'll work on fusion expense application also. Okay. For that, we need separate subscription. That is the reason they are not giving as a part of financials. Again, within this also. So for GL, general ledger, you get by default. If you are going to use any one of the finance related application, we get general ledger application by default. Without general ledger, you cannot use any finance applications. Okay, you cannot use any financials applications. So general ledger you will get by default. The rest, what are the applications you are going to use, for each application, subscription is required. Okay, and now for financials, you can see the status as enabled. Within this instance, the financials offering is already enabled. Okay, financials offering is already enabled. So you can just click on opt-in features. So where we can enable, or from where we can disable this offering related information, or within the offering, what are the options we have, how to enable and disable, you can see here. So for the first time when you come to this page, you will see this financials as a disabled mode. Now you can see as a disabled. Already it's enabled. Okay, so already these are enabled. So again, within the financials, so if you enable financials, okay, if you enable financials, within the financials, we are getting general ledger application by default. You don't have option to choose or not to choose. When you enable financials, automatically system will tick this general ledger application. Without general ledger, no finance applications you can use. And supplier invoice processing, nothing but accounts payable application. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but accounts payable. Within the financials, if you are going to implement payables application, you can enable. If you are not going to implement, you can disable this. Okay, you can disable this accounts payable. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables application. Okay, so payables application. So as a part of supplier invoice processing, we have suppliers, payables means invoices, payments, cash management and banking. So for cash management application, you no need to enable any option separately. If you are going to use payables, you will get cash management, or else if you are going to use only receivables, yes, you will get cash management. The cash management, they included as a part of payables as well as receivables. You no need to include cash management separately. That means you don't need to enable separately. Okay, if you enable payables, you will get cash management also. I'm just enabling supplier invoice processing. Okay, just enable, so that as a part of accounts payable application, what we get, Everything is enabled here. Same way expense. Expense is nothing but fusion expense. That is separate application. You can create the expense reports. Employees can submit the expense reports, what they incurred for reimbursement purpose. For that, we have a separate application. We'll work on this expense application also. So here, if you are going to implement, you can enable, or else you can disable this. Okay. So directly you can enable or disable. Fine. Let's enable it. The very first point is we have to enable the financials. Okay, financials we have to enable. One second. Scroll up. So here you can enable. First you have to enable the financials, then you can enable whatever you require one by one, you can enable. Okay, I'm just disabling this. Wait for a second. Okay. I'm just disabling this payables also. Now we disabled financials. Okay, we disabled financials. So let me save this. Click on done. Now in the fresh instance, this is how you see. Okay, if you select financials in a fresh instance, when you are working for any client, you will see each and every offering status as a not enabled. Now what we have to do? We have to click on opt-in features. You have to navigate to that page by clicking on opt-in features. Now we want to implement financials, enable financials. What are the applications you want to implement? You can enable. You want to implement this. Okay, this is how you can enable. So whatever you are not going to implement, you can ignore those. Okay, general ledger we are getting by default. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables. We are getting expense we enable, fixed assets we enable, intercompany separate future, budgets. Okay, so these are the primary applications. You don't have any option to enable cash management. Okay, cash management you will get by default as a part of payables and receivables application also. Here you can see customer invoice processing. Customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables. If you enable that, here you will get everything. This all will be part of it. Okay, so this is how you have to enable the offerings and options. Okay, so for US federal, like if you are going to implement for US government organizations and all, you can enable this federal financials. Okay, some lease accounting, etc. These all additional things, anything required, you can enable. And one more point here is, against the financials, we have a futures related edit icon. You no need to set anything. You no need to set anything. So you just will go through. By default, all the features are enabled, which ideally we use for the clients. So if anything else required, that you can enable from here. You can just click on this features icon, edit icon against the features for financials. Here you can see all are enabled. Say for example, for your client, you are going to implement applications called as GRC, governance, risk and compliance. If this is not enabled, you can enable it. Okay, so apart from the financials, what we get by default, anything else you are going to implement, here you can enable those and you can implement. Ideally, you don't need to set anything here for finance. When it comes to SCM, there are a few features which you have to enable, otherwise those won't work. For finance, the features point of view, you don't need to enable. By default, you get most of the features here. So this is how you can enable the offerings. Within the offering, you can enable the relevant options. Click on done. Now you can see the offering as a enable. So this is the process you have to follow. The same way, if you want to enable offering called as some procurement or something else. You can select procurement. It's already enabled. Let's have a look. Click on opt-in features. What are the different applications we have as a part of procurement? We'll go and see. So within the procurement, we have purchasing application, self-service procurement that you can call as iProcurement also. Okay. As a part of procurement, they are giving supplier invoice processing, because if any client is going to use P2P cycle, if they select procurement offering, okay, that's enough. The payables also they'll be able to implement. And they have a sourcing application, supplier portal application, procurement contracts application. This is how we have a set of applications as a part of procurement. From procurement, the basic application is purchasing. So what are the offerings, options are required as per your client, we have to enable. Fine. Done. And you select any offering and you can find the relevant documents also. Here you could see related documents. Expand it. So associated features, what are the features are available within the financials, and set up task list and tasks. To implement financials, what are the different setups are available? Because all documents are available. The documents you can download in PDF or HTML or Excel formats. In any format you can download. If you click on PDF, it will download all the finance related features document. And here you can select any one of the format, the documents will be downloaded. So these, you cannot do anything with this document, just that is information. So now practicing, you can try with these documents. In this stage, by going through also, you don't understand anything, but not required also, you may refer. We'll come to know each and everything through our classes. Okay. You may just click on this, it will download the document and you may go through. Yeah. Nothing to learn as of now from those documents. You may try or else you can ignore for now. Done. So this is all about how to enable the offerings and options. How to enable the offerings and options. The second point. After enabling the offerings and options, we have to create the implementation project. Here the question is, how many implementation projects we have to create? How many implementation projects we have to create? Before we create implementation project, it's very important what purpose we are creating implementation project. The purpose of implementation project creation within the FSM is to perform the setups and to manage those setups, not for any other entire implementation cycle. Okay, implementation is different. The entire implementation, what we do for client is different from the implementation project which we are going to create in the system. This implementation project just to do the setups. The normal implementation project to handle the entire implementation project. Okay, entire implementation. To handle entire implementation, we can have an implementation project. Okay, when we are working for any client, but this implementation project, which we are going to create in the system to manage the setups. Okay, to implement payables, what setups we have to do? We'll do it through implementation project. To implement receivables, what setups we have to do? That we'll do from this implementation project. For that purpose, setups purpose, we are going to use this implementation project. Okay, how many implementation projects we have to create? For one country, one implementation project is enough. Okay, so if you are doing implementation for 10 countries, for each country you can create separate implementation project. Okay, so for 10 countries, 10 implementation project. What purpose we are creating implementation project? Setup purpose. Can't we do the setups for 10 countries by using single implementation project? Yes, we can do. You can create one implementation project and you can do the implementation for multiple countries, possible. But there will be small mess. Okay, if you use one implementation project for multiple countries, the setups when you do, there could be some confusion. You may commit with some mistakes. So that is the reason, as a best practice, for each country, we create separate implementation project with that implementation project, you can do the setups. For India, you can create an implementation project. When you are, what are the applications you are implementing for India business, all those setups you can do from the India implementation project. For US, you can have a separate project. What are the applications you are implementing? What are the business processes you are implementing for US business operations? Accordingly, you can do all the setups from US implementation project. Okay, so this is how we have to do the setups from respective country implementation project. Okay, so implementation project will provide us some path, some navigation to go to that setup and to perform the setup. Okay, so this is there are many other points also we'll discuss. As of now, simple point is implementation. The first point is implementation project purpose is to do the setups only, nothing else. The second point is how many implementation projects we have to create for each country, one. And can we do the setups for multiple countries by using single implementation project? Yes, possible, but not recommended. So these are the points we have to understand. Now we'll go and see how to create the implementation project. Okay, we'll go and see how to create the implementation project. We'll create implementation project. If you have any questions, we'll discuss. So from the same page, you can create the implementation project. But anyway, we'll take the navigation once again. So click on username, click on setup and maintenance task. It will navigate us to FSM page. We are already in the same page, but we are taking the navigation. So here in this page, here you can see tasks list. Okay, you can see notepad kind of icon that you call as task list. That means it contains multiple tasks. It contains list of tasks. You can call as a task list or task pan. Just click on this task list. It will expand and it will display the multiple tasks within this. There are multiple tasks. Now click on manage implementation projects task. Click on manage implementation project task. You see within this instance, many projects are created for practice purpose. Okay, for practice purpose, many projects are created. Reality, when we are working for any client, if you come to this page, this is how you can see. Empty page, you don't find any projects. If you are doing implementation for your client for US, you will create one project here. Okay, and remember, one instance Oracle is providing for one client only. They may do business in multiple countries, but company should be only one or one company only. They are not giving one instance for multiple companies, multiple organizations. Okay, that is a very important point. When we are using this instance for your practice, here you can see many projects. Okay, so there are different projects with the different names. For practice purpose, people created with the different names. Okay, somebody created as a Wipro. Okay, so different company names they are using. But reality, when we do the implementation for any client, one instance for only one client. Okay, one instance for only one client. The instance will support to implement for multiple clients also, but Oracle is not allowing. They don't allow. Okay, so from this page, we can create the implementation projects. Okay, implementation project. We'll go and create our implementation project. To create implementation project, click on create. Okay, we'll take the navigation once again. How to navigate to this page? Click on the username, click on setup and maintenance task. It will take us to FSM page. Click on task list and click on manage implementation projects and click on create to create the new project. Click on create, and by default it is taking some name. Okay, you can update the name how you want. So I want to give the name as Amex. We created a user as Amex, right? Amex implementation project. And you can say, if you are doing the implementation for Amex for multiple countries, you can include the country name also here. You can say Amex US implementation project. Say you are doing the implementation only in one country. You don't need to address with the name. If you are doing the implementation for multiple countries, each country you are going to create a separate project. The project should be able to identify by seeing those names. That is the reason you can include the name, country name. If you are implementing for only one country, no need to include the country name. Simply you can say Amex implementation project. The same name it will copy as a implementation project code and a description. You can accept. And what is the status of the project? Not started. Yes, we not yet started doing the setups. Your project means setups. We are creating implementation setup to do the setups. So status is not started. Assigned to Amex. We are creating this project from which user? Amex user. So system is assigning this project to that user. If you want to change, you can change. Click on drop down, click on search. Okay, you can search for any user. I'm typing A. I'm searching for users which are starting with a name called as A. I can select like this. I can click on this record and say, okay. Now we are assigning this project to this user. Okay, this is how you can assign. By default, when you create the implementation project, the project will get assigned to the current user, from which user you are creating to that user that can get assigned. Now just search for Amex, select and say, okay. And who has to create implementation project? Don't think project manager has to create. This is not a real actual project. This is setup related. So who knows how to create the implementation project in the system, they can create. That could be a finance consultant or a CM consultant or HCM consultant, or else it could be technical consultant. Anyone can create. Okay. So there is no rule to create the project in the instance. This is just to set up. Okay. So anyone can create the implementation project. Do we need to assign this implementation project to project manager? Not mandatory. Okay. So assignment is not required also. Just they are giving option. So automatically system is assigned. And start date and finish date. Say we are going to implement financials. To complete the finance related setups, what is the time frame you want to select? You can provide some tentative schedule. Say we want to complete the setups related to finance by end of this month. After end of this month, will system will allow us to do the setup? Yes, it will allow. This is just for information purpose only. Okay. Now, if you click on save and open project, system will create the project and you can add offerings into this project. Without creating the project, before you create the project, if you want to include the offerings, you can click on next. Okay, you can save and open the project. Later, you can add the offerings into this project, or else after adding the offerings, if you want to create implementation project, click on next. Okay. First, we'll go through this option. Okay. First, we'll go through this option. Then later, we'll see this second option also. You can click on next. So what are the offerings and options are enabled within this instance? Only those offerings now you can see. In the next step, you can see all the offerings which are enabled in this instance. So if you don't enable financials offering, the financial offering you don't find here, because we enabled already finance offering already enabled. So that is the reason we are able to see here. Okay, here we discussed. First, you have to enable offerings and options. Whatever you enable, those only you can see now here. These you can include into your project. Say you want to implement financials. So include. Here we have a include column. So financials include. Okay, financials we are including. Within the financials, whatever already you enabled, those only you can see here. So I want to include payables also. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables. I want to include expense application. I want to include fixed assets application. I want to include customer invoice processing, nothing but receivables. Okay. I want to include collections, revenue management, intercompany, budgets, and BA, business intelligence. You can do the data analysis with this. So you can include all this BA also. BA reporting is available for all these applications that we are including. Okay, I included something else not required. Fine. This is how you can include. And say save and open project. Now what system will do? It will create. So we created a project and we included offerings and options. Now system will create the task list. Wait for a second. For all these applications, if you want to implement supplier invoice processing, means payables. To implement payables, what setups we have to do? To implement expense, fixed assets, receivables, collections. So what are the applications we included? To implement those, what setups we have to do? All the setup related tasks it will generate. It will take some time. So it created. This by mistake I selected and removing. So here you can see financials. You can expand financials. Within this, you can see task list. These are the task list. See, if you want to implement payables, this is the task list. By using this task list, you can implement the payables. If you want to implement expense application, this is the task list. Fixed assets, receivables, revenue. Here you see cash management and banking configuration, collections. You can expand, define invoicing and payment configuration. You will see again task list. These are wherever you have a folder option that you call as a task list. Expand. Here you have folder option. This is also task list. Below to this task list, these are all we call as the tasks. These are all we call as tasks. For a task, you can see this go to task icon. If you click on that, it will take to that page and you can do the setup. Okay. So this is how you can create. We'll discuss more detail level, just how to create the project. We are trying to understand. There is a lot of information here which we have to understand. We'll discuss. So how we created project? By selecting offering and options. Now I don't want to select offering, but I want to create the project. How to do that, we'll see. Click on done. Our project is here. We want to create one more project. Click on create. I want to give the name as ABC. Now directly you can click on save and open project. Now system will create empty project. Into that empty project, you can add the offerings or options. Okay, this is ABC implementation project. If you want to add any offerings or options, you can add from here. Click on add. So what offering you want to add? Financials. Search for financials. Select. Say apply. You can see in the background, financials is added. The same way, if you want to add any other offerings, you can add from here. If you want to add options, okay, you can add from here. You have to select the task list and you can add. How you can see here. First, you can look at any one of the option name. For payables, they are giving the name as define invoicing and payment configuration. Okay, define invoicing and payments configuration, right? Now you can go here, select task list, search for define invoicing and payment configuration. This is a payables option. Okay, define invoicing and payment configuration. Select this, say apply. It is added. This is a one by one you can add, or else directly entire financials you can add. Click on that. So this is how you can add the offerings and options into project. Okay, offerings and options into project. So this is all about creating implementation project. We have to understand many things related to implementation project. So that we'll see in the next session. For now, just understand how to enable offerings and options, how to create the implementation project. So in the next session, we'll discuss about many points related to implementation project, and we'll start working on the setups. So wherever we have to understand the concept theoretically, we discuss and we'll proceed with the system. We're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back. We can discuss. If you don't have any questions, you may drop from the meeting. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night. See you in the next weekend. Thank you. Any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
If suppose we have the implemented one project, okay, and
Yeah.
after that we have to give in some support and we have to amend something in the setup, like the support level.
Yes.
So what we have to do, we have to go for the same project, or we have directly we go on the task and then we will update the whatever we required.
Yeah, this project for this project for implementation and the support. Okay, implementation and the maintenance. Say I want to implement payables. Okay, by using this project I can implement. Then client will start using the payables. They'll start creating invoices and payments. And you want to do some changes to existing setups. From this project only you have to do. You want to do some additional setups. Yes, from this project only you have to do. You want to fix some issues. You have to do from this project only. Okay.
So
this
we
is
have to
for
come again.
Implementation and maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to come again with the same project and then we have to change it.
Yeah. Again, we have to come back to means this is instance. Okay.
Okay.
So business users will have access to that specific application related access. As a consultant, we'll have access to this implementation project primarily. Along with that, if you need access to other applications also, yes. See, this implementation project only for the purpose of setups. With this project, you cannot create single transaction also. To create the transactions, we have a separate roles. This is only for setups.
Yeah, I'm asking you the same question. Like, suppose we have a payment term in the AP, 30 and 90. Now we need a 120 also after the 5 months of the project. So what we will do? We will come again in that same project, or we have to?
Yes. Always we use this project. Always we use for this project on daily basis. Okay. So you create one more payment term, or you may modify whatever you want to do. You can do from this project.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Lakshman, in doing the implementation project, how many tasks is there any limitation for adding the tasks?
For implementation project?
Yeah. Is there any limitation to create a task for a user?
No limitation. No limitation.
Or any limitation with the browser, or if somebody is using the different browser like Safari?
No. Only one setup there is a limitation. It allows at a time only one user. The rest everything the same like tasks, multiple users can access in one go.
Okay.
Only one setup that is applicable.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. Any other questions? No questions. Then that's all for today. See you the next weekend. Thank you all.